Hey, my friends. Today I thought I would talk about designing your homeschool day for success. So, excuse my lighting here. I know there's a lot of it trickling in as the sun is beginning to set, but I thought I would take this time for a minute because I was just thinking about all the years that I've homeschooled, the last 17 years or so, and how as my kids grew in different stages, how I had to design my days differently depending on what they needed. And so here are a couple of tips I think can help you as you're designing your days, no matter what season you're in with your children and what stages your kids are in. So I love the Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6, and it says, train up a child in the way he should go, and even when he's old, he will not depart from it. I love that. And so I think part of designing our homeschool days as Christian women and as parents who are trying to raise our kids in a way that will help them to choose God is to design our days so that we have space to teach them the ways of the Lord and also teach them all the other practical things that go along with raising a child. And so one of those things is establishing a solid routine. Providing that consistent routine for our kids is everything. We all know that kids thrive on routine, but we sometimes think as they get older, they don't need it as much, but they really do. And that's one of the things I've discovered as my kids have grown up. They need that routine. They enjoy it. They love it. They thrive on it. They don't always act like they love it, but they do. And so creating that structure. So even if you are not attending co-ops or homeschool park days, or you don't have these things integrated into your day and your kids are not going to school every day like other kids are. And so your kids being at home doesn't mean though that they don't have any routine or structure, because as moms, we create that structure within our home. So we have a time that is set aside for breakfast and a time for lunch and a time for dinner. And then in between those times, we have our structured learning times. And so that can look however you want it to. Maybe you're doing math in the morning and language arts in the afternoon, however you need to. It doesn't mean that you are strict with how you do it or you're rigid. It just means that you have a routine. And so I think kids really love knowing what happens next. It's important to make sure we give them the what's next, and this doesn't have to be the same from day to day, but just so that they know what's happening. It helps them feel more confident and secure. Okay, so I just had to close my shades because there's just way too much lighting, so it's a little bit better. But my next tip for you is having a clear start and end time to the homeschool day, so it's kind of not floating all over the place. Unless that's how your family likes it, then to each his own. But I feel like having a beginning and end and sandwiching your day in between so everyone knows, okay, this is the end of the learning time of today, and now I can just go off, go play, go have fun. Those kinds of things help not only with routine, but just bringing an end to something and having a clear beginning to something. So the one thing I loved to do when my kids were younger was start the day with prayer. We had a prayer time, we had a devotional time, and a time to worship. So that started our homeschool day when the kids were younger. And we ended the day just with our whatever our last lessons were, which I tried to keep the same so that they knew what was the last thing we're working on. That's what we do every day, right? So if it's English, we end on English or whatever it is. And so I kind of had a certain time. Maybe it was lunch, because a lot of times we did our homeschooling in the morning and we had those 4-hour blocks. And then in the afternoons, they were free. And so they knew that whenever we had lunch, they were done. And so that's a couple of years of our homeschooling looked like that, where the end of our school day was right after lunch. Another success tip for you is create a flexible curriculum that is not rigid to the point where you can't change things around. And I learned my lesson over and over and over again, because I did try to stick with curriculum and it just didn't work for me. And I'm just not that kind of person. I'm very adventurous, and it was very hard for me to find something and stick with it for 5 years. And some people can. And they like to pass down the curriculum for the younger kids. But for me, I was always changing up our curriculum every single year because I found something else. But they say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But at the same time, if you see something better and you want to try it, then try it out and see what happens. But I think as long as the kids are learning and you're happy, then go for it. And so don't try to be too rigid, but at the same time, it's nice to have some things that are the same from month to month or year to year if possible. But I loved flexibility in curriculum that allowed me to change things around as I wanted to. I mean, that's kind of, to me, the whole reason I homeschooled, is to have that flexibility. But when you invest in curriculum, you want to make sure that it allows the structure of the curriculum, especially look at the teacher plan, if there's a teacher resource, that it allows for you to be able to complete a majority of the lessons without you feeling like you're going to be behind because you're missing most of it by the end of the year because you didn't stick with that rigid schedule. And so there were some curriculum choices that we made when my kids were much younger that just did not work because we fell behind, so drastically fell behind. We weren't able to keep up because the schedule of the curriculum required that in order to complete that year's lessons, that you kind of do everything on 5 days a week, for 175 days or whatever it is. And so when I didn't complete those curricula, I felt kind of at odds about it. I didn't really like that it wasn't complete, but I just threw caution to the wind and realized that, well, my kids got out of the curriculum what they needed to, and we succeeded. We got through 80% of the curriculum. It's fine, right? And even then, like, learning is learning. So you take what you need. One of the other tips I have for you is be very flexible in how you take little bits and pieces from curricula choices, that it doesn't have to be one particular curriculum that you choose for the year. It could be 5 different books that you're using for English, and you're taking pieces out of each of them because you know what your goals are. So if you know what your goals are for language arts for 3rd grade that year, you can piece together something if you want. And if you don't feel comfortable with that, you can get your one curriculum and go through it cover to cover, but just do what's comfortable for you. Everybody who homeschools their kids has a different personality and a different way of going about teaching their kids. So there's no hard answer. There's no right or wrong answer. Just do what's best for you, but stay flexible. I think when we nurture a love for learning, our kids are so much more apt to pick up on different things throughout the day without feeling like this is a lesson. This is a homeschool lesson. In fact, they won't even know they're learning. They won't even feel like they're that they're in school or that they're learning something. But because we cultivate that within our home, then they're always learning. And so they're asking questions and we're answering them the best we can. And sometimes we go do a little research and maybe hop on over to Google. And nowadays you can hop on to ChatGPT and ask questions and learn things and figure out what you need to know to teach something. I mean, it's not difficult to learn in today's society. There's a lot of ways to learn. What's difficult is to learn in such a high maintenance structure and rigid structure that suddenly the art of learning is no longer an art, and it becomes a robotic mandate. If your kids are in school and it becomes structured to the point where they can't explore beyond what's given in front of them because they're learning for a test or towards testing, or they're learning to get the grade, or they're learning to regurgitate for the test so that their teacher is pleased, so that their parents are pleased, so they get into college, and they have all of these little check boxes that they're trying to get to. And so I've never embraced that in education. And even though my daughter's in school now and my oldest daughter's in college, it's like I've never embraced that philosophy of learning. And that's why when my kids were really young, I just was totally open to let's have fun. That was my motto, let's have fun. So flexibility is super important, even within structure, and just cultivating that space in your home so that kids really enjoy learning, having lots of different types of books in your surrounding. Your home is an atmosphere for learning. You set up the atmosphere as a mom or dad. You create that atmosphere for your children by what they see in your home. So if you're a musical family, if you're a science family, if you love traveling, you are going to set up the atmosphere of how your children will learn and how they're going to perceive the world based on what's going on in the spaces of your 4 walls. And so we get to be in charge of that. And often on this channel, I talk to homeschool moms of faith, so Christian homeschool moms. It's very, very important that if you're going to do the homeschool thing and have your kids with you all day, and if you're going to teach them about God and about, the Bible, that we do it in a way that is delightful, right? And it's not, again, this rigid pounding them, with the Bible and all the rules and the legalities of religion, but teaching them in a way that is fun and engaging and loving and filled with life and laughter, because we want to create homes where good memories are founded, right? And so we're not perfect, of course. No parents are perfect. We have made our share of mistakes and we have some regrets sometimes, but guess what? Tomorrow's a new day. We can get up, we can start again, we can do this thing again. And so I just wanted to make sure that I shared with you on this channel some of the tips that I've been learning over the years about being a homeschool mom and what's helped me in developing our homeschool environment over the years. And I hope this is helping you to craft your perfect homeschool day. Your day is going to look different than mine and the next person's, but your perfect homeschool day is all about what your family needs. So I encourage you to create it. And by the way, I do have a course available. I'm going to leave a link for that down below in the description box. It's super fun, and it is an audio course where I share with homeschool moms how to craft that perfect homeschool plan for your family. And we're looking at all kinds of things like creating your family mission statement and looking at the different things that your kids bring to the table and how God wired them as students, and then how God wired you as a teacher, your learning styles, their learning styles, and all of that combined creates that whole homeschool experience in your home. And so I help you to design that in this course. So the course had been on sale for a really long time, and it's finally back up a little bit. I bumped up the price just a little bit, but it's still not at the original price. So it's still kind of on sale. So I would invite you to go look at that if you want to take a look and see if this is something you'd like to have. It's, like I said, it's an audio course and it comes with a workbook, and I think you'll enjoy that. So I'll talk to you later, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week.